What if I told you that if you're unhappy, you're normal? For most of my life, I have been a happiness perfectionist. Whenever there is a painful feeling or a difficult thought, I want to get rid of them. I want to argue with them, rationalize them, think positively to delete them. But all that struggle actually makes me a lot more miserable in the long run. And this book, The Happiness Trap, has helped me so much in freeing me from that struggle so that I can live a more content and fulfilled life even when pain shows up. And believe me, it shows up a lot. Welcome back to the Happiness Trap book series, where we explore the world's best-selling guide to acceptance and commitment therapy, 1 to 2 chapters per week. If we haven't met yet, my name is Angela, and I'm a fellow traveler on the human healing journey. And this book has seriously changed my life for the better. So today, we're going to discuss Chapter 1, Life is Difficult. Here are my 3 key takeaways. Number 1, why are we so often unhappy? Well, first of all, life is unfair from the beginning, from birth. We are born into a set of situations that give us a very different set of privileges than the people around us. Some of us have unfair advantages in different areas of life, and some of us suffers from discrimination and prejudices because of their country of origin, or the food that they eat, or the language that they speak, or the religion that they follow, and so on and so forth. So this life is inherently unfair and filled with challenges. And on top of that, if you think about how our ancestors lived, they did not live in a utopia where the most happiest person has the most children and therefore their traits are more easily passed down to the next generation. Instead, we lived in the wild. Our ancestors lived in the wild. They really need to have a keen sense of risk, of danger, of social rejection, so that they can be kept alive. So our brains are really good at that, at sensing danger, making sure that we remember that that poisonous fruit was bad for us, so we hold on to difficult, painful memories to protect us from encountering similar pains or dangers in the future. And our brains are not really built to provide us with constant happiness. Instead, it is really, really good at making sure that we're safe, that we can survive, and that we are far away from danger as much as possible. So that is how we are built. But adding another layer to that will be in our modern life, we have social media. And that is just really a collection of highlight reels of people's life. So now our comparison mind doesn't just get to work on the villagers, the communities around us, which is a rather limited set of people compared to the access that we have through social media nowadays, which is almost the entire world. So our comparison mind can get very busy and lost in comparing our daily normal life to the highlight reels of the life, the curated life of people's posts on social media. And no wonder we are so stressed out. Number 2, happiness perfectionism. So in the book, Russ shared 2 main happiness myths that would make us miserable if we believed in them. And believe me, I have bought into them for the majority of my life, and I can attest to the fact that believing in them makes me very unhappy. So the first myth is that happiness is our default state, that if we had our basic needs met, then we should be constantly happy. This myth is really setting a highly unrealistic standard in our mind about how our life should look like, because we have already discussed life is unfair and is full of challenges. So to expect us to be constantly happy is really unrealistic, and it's really rather judgmental and harsh on ourselves. And this actually also reminds me of something that the spiritual teacher Eckhart Tolle says, that the thought that I should not be unhappy, that thought lies at the root of unhappiness. Because that expectation that we should have this constant happiness in our life, and when we experience anything other than happiness, then something is wrong in our life, that is just creating so much resistance to the reality of life. And it just creates this unrealistic, judgmental perspective that make life way more difficult and painful than it needs to be. The second happiness myth follows the first one. It says that if we are not happy, something is wrong with us. Ouch, that really hurts. Because we have already talked about how life is unfair and is difficult and often involves pain. And to say that whenever we are not happy, that we shouldn't be that way, we should immediately fix it, we should medicate ourselves. There is just something fundamentally wrong with how our brain functions when we are feeling very sad after someone passed, or when we are feeling very anxious after we lost a job and we don't know what might happen. And that is really an unrealistic thought that society has perpetuated, and it really doesn't allow the full range of human experience to be experienced. Number 3, problems with the typical definitions of happiness. Generally speaking, our society defines happiness as good feelings, feeling pleasures, but chasing those feelings constantly is like chasing a sugar high constantly. In the moment, it feels really good. But if that's something that we expect ourselves to experience all the time, it's going to lead to some long-term problems. But if happiness is defined as living a full, rich, and meaningful life, then that leads to long-term contentment. Because in that scenario, we are freeing ourselves to experience the full spectrum of emotions, of thoughts, of experiences that life brings us. And we're not resisting as much, and we're allowing those things. And at the same time, what is a great gift that ACT has given me is that it helps me, it guides me to clarify my values. What type of person do I want to be? What really matters to my heart, to myself? So then I can live my life according to those values. And this approach to life, this approach to happiness, is an approach that provides so much more freedom, because it means that we are not required to get rid of the painful things, to delete the difficult feelings. Instead, that's part of the human experiences, and we can have enough space to hold those experiences as they come and go at their own time. But we don't need to be directed by those feelings or thoughts. And this is the beauty of this book and of acceptance and commitment therapy. It helps us build the skills, the learnable skills of how can we be an observer of our thoughts and feelings that inevitably will come. Sometimes it's a pleasurable feeling, sometimes it's a painful feeling, sometimes we have very useful thoughts, sometimes we have very difficult thoughts that will draw us into them. But this type of work help us build that muscle so then we can allow those thoughts and feelings to come, but our actions are not directed by them. Our actions are instead guided by values that the book will guide us in clarifying. So then we can live a value-driven life that leads to long-term contentment. Before we dive into the exercise for this week, I want to invite us to take a breath so then we can come back to our bodies and to see how we're actually feeling right now. So, what is the exercise for the week? Well, I want to invite you to reflect on whether you also have this happiness perfectionism theme song in your mind. Does your mind tell you that you should be happy all the time? If not, there is something wrong with you. And this is completely normal. I think most of us have that dialogue in our mind, has that theme song playing in our mind, and it shows up in a variety of scenarios throughout our day. And I'm speaking from my personal experience here. And that is not a dysfunction of our mind. It is really our mind being like an overprotective friend who wants to make sure that we're feeling good, that we're not in any danger. So it's trying to send these messages to us to try to protect us, but it's like overprotective. So there's no judgment if you notice that your brain, your mind give you those theme songs, those messages. But when you notice that your mind is singing that song to you again, then I want to invite you to practice saying, I notice my mind is saying that I should be happy all the time. Or maybe the sentence could be, I notice my mind is saying that something is wrong with me when I'm unhappy. So the key here is to add the words, I notice my mind is saying that before the thought that you're noticing that your mind is giving you. And I want to invite you to try to practice it at least once a day. The more, the better. It's really a skill that we're learning. And the more that we practice, the more that we can really benefit from the nutrient of ACT. And watching these videos or even reading the book can sound very fun, can sound very enlightening, but nothing compares to actually getting that full benefit of the book by practicing the exercises that it has. So I want to invite you to commit to a practice, and I really want to also invite you to share your experience of how you felt as you practice saying, I notice my mind is saying that I should be happy all the time. Like, how does it feel in your body? How does it feel in your mind, in your emotional field? And I would really love to learn from your experience and see your feedback. I want to also encourage you to get the book so that you can get the full benefits, because my videos are highlighting what resonated with me, but there is so much more in the book that I can't fit into this video. So I encourage you to get it so that you can get the full benefits. Next week, we are going to talk about chapter 2, the choice point. You're welcome to read along. I encourage that. You can potentially find the book in your local library or maybe borrow it from a friend. I've also included a paid link in the description below for you to buy the book if you would like. And if you purchase through that link, I will get a commission to support the channel at no cost to you. I've also included a non-paid link in the description below in case that's what you prefer. I invite you to subscribe to the channel so then we can promote this video, this series, to as many people as possible so we can all benefit from this beautiful work of acceptance and commitment therapy. Thank you for watching and see you next week. This video shares my personal experiences and perspectives. It is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional mental health or medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you're experiencing significant mental health challenges, please consult with a licensed mental health professional. If you're experiencing a crisis or having thoughts of self-harm or harming others, please call 988 911, or your local emergency services.